ThatGreatBusinessShow.com is brought to you by De Facto Shaving Oil, the best anyone can get. Made in Ireland, sold worldwide.
Welcome to episode 20 of That Great Business Show, first broadcast on the 5th of February 2021. Yes, that's the great news. We have a top 20. This being episode 20 means we have accumulated 20 great business shows. 20 episodes of That Great Business Show, Ireland's best business podcast, where we do business differently. I am Conal O'Moran. On episode 20, we'll have a few yarns from a Dublin-based knitwear company, a 3D dentures company preparing to print your next set of nashers for delivery anywhere in the world, a successful Irish software company that knows your customers at the truly granular level, and a woman who advertised on LinkedIn for a co-founder for her startup. Oh, and we will also have one of our guests will tell you why sea swimming is great for your business. It's the Warts and All show where we talk business in the raw. You can contact us on our website, thatgreatbusinessshow.com, on Twitter, @TeamGBS1, on Facebook, and of course, on all the great podcast platforms. We are Team GBS, and that's why we ask you, our listeners, to buy, back, and use De Facto Shaving Oil. They've sponsored That Great Business Show since the start, and that's why we ask you to back them. Their shaving oil is blended and manufactured in Mayo, Ireland, and sold around the globe from defactoshave.com. For men and women, it's the best anyone can get.
That Great Business Show.
Now, I'd say many, if not most, Irish people have never heard of Ireland's Eye, the tiny, teeny little island off the north coast of County Dublin. Ireland's Eye is also a knitwear company employing 50 people based in Baldoyle, very close to Howth in Dublin. The company has been run by 3 generations of the same family, along with a talented workforce, many of whom have been with the company for a quarter of a century or more, and that's always a good sign, isn't it? The company's designs are traditional contemporary, those are my words, also known as very gorgeous. And with price tags around €100, they're definitely not outrageously expensive. And what attracted me to their story was that they had moved their manufacturing to China some years ago, but then brought it back home, and we'll find out why, I hope. And only since COVID hit have they started selling online in a big way. As always, when I asked guests to come onto the show, I asked them if there's anything in particular that Team GBS, that's you, the listeners, could do to help their business. This is the utterly gorgeous response I got from their director of charm. In terms of specific requests, Team GBS is already helping by having us on your show. Good things always come from these high-profiling raising pieces. The writer of that lovely note is also managing director of Ireland's Eye Knitwear, Paul O'Sullivan. Paul, you're a charmer.
Hello. Thank you, Conal.
Tell me about the business. You must be one of the few knitwear businesses left in this country because textiles in general headed east.
Yes, that's correct. So when we started the business in 1988, there were probably about 25 knitwear companies in the country at the time. And there's only a handful now.
How many? What's a handful? 3, 4, 5, 6?
Probably something like 5 or 6, yeah. 3 or 4 doing it at any sort of scale at all.
And the interesting thing, though, is that you had outsourced to China up until...
So around about 2000, we decided to move a lot of the production out to China. What triggered it was on the 9 o'clock news, I think Glen Dimplex at the time were opening a new plant in the Far East, and they announced that they were going to be employing something like 1,000 graduates and paying them something like, $1,000 or $1,200 each a year. And I was looking at the 9 o'clock news, and my brother Brendan is my business partner and co-owner. He was looking at the news as well. And I remember we said, I don't care how efficient we think we are. Our kind of manufacturing is finished in Ireland. We need to get out to China. And at that time, trade buyers didn't seem to care so much about where the garments were made. Really, they were interested in the price. So we moved the production out to China. Most of it, not quite all of it. We left our way back. And that was going fine for a number of years. But around 2006, 2007, I started to notice that buyers were becoming more interested in the provenance of the product. Where was it made? And sometimes you'd be in a a shop in Ireland, a tourist type shop, and you might hear tourists, you'd overhear them saying, if I'm buying one of these sweaters, I want to make sure it's made in Ireland. So we debated this for a long time, especially for Brendan, because he runs the factory, he runs the operations, and in some ways he had a nicer life when all the production was being done out in the Far East. But really, you have to listen to your customers and what they want. And it became clear that customers wanted the garments to be made in Ireland. And this time round, they understood that would cost a little bit more, and they were willing to pay a little bit more. So we took the decision to bring the production back, and I think we started bringing it back around about 2010. And between 2010 and today, 10 years just over, the business has grown in size by 5 times. So at that time...
Wow. Yeah. That is fantastic. Sure. And you've maintained margins, increased margins? Over time,
maintained, and over time, slowly increasing them. So we'd have gone from sort of 10 people employed that time to 50 people today.
That's fantastic. And one of the things that I also noticed, which is kind of we are on a mission to drive business online.
Sure.
Put your hand up, because you were not driving online.
No, I was stuck in the mud. I was one of the people around the table who was saying, no, we're going to try and be the best we can be in the world at what we do, which is manufacture. And we're going to try and partner with retailers who are the best at retailing, be it online or bricks and mortar. And, I'd held to that position for quite a while, and I was probably really entrenched in that position. And then COVID happened. And certainly as far as Ireland goes, all the shops were essentially closed. So it became very clear very quickly, we need to get online and fast. And, we put a project team together, and I think we made the decision to go into e-commerce around about July, and we went live in the middle of November.
That's not bad, is it?
It's not bad.
Yeah, you better give a shout out to whoever you did that project for you, because if they're good, they're good.
We put a good team together because we certainly don't know how to do it. And I suppose the learning in that was, I'll be 60 this year, and as Brendan likes to remind everybody, he's a bit younger than me, but we wouldn't have a clue how to start about putting an e-commerce operation together. So we just took some advice and got the skills together. And
who advised you?
I suppose one of the ports of call is usually Enterprise Ireland.
Good for them, yeah.
Because they'll have worked with lots and lots of companies that have gone into e-commerce. And we'd have marketing consultants we work with as well. And I also have a nephew who's very familiar with the e-commerce world and has a thriving business. So you talk around to people and you find out, how do you go about this? How do you put a shape on this? And then you put a team together. And now the team, they only come to Brendan or I now when they want more money.
Well, that's business, as they say.
Yeah.
And what have you seen? Obviously your shops are closed.
Yes.
So is everything online now?
No, for us, in terms of our own online business, it's not a silver bullet. It's a long, hard road. So we have to learn our craft, if you excuse the pun, about how to do this. But a lot of our retail partners would already have well-established online operations. So they've all thrived during the last 12 months.
So do you kind of white label into, take a name, any name, and say you just hide behind them? Is that how it works?
No, we're quite precious about our brand, and one of our missions is to build the Ireland's Eye brand. So we're quite precious about that, and so we would have resellers in Ireland and all over the world.
Where is the mix? Where are you selling most, into the States or?
No. So about 2/3 of our production is exported, and people often think the first market that would come to their mind is the United States, but not in our case. Our largest market is Germany, and after that would be France, then followed by maybe United States and Canada. So our styling would be quite geared towards the European taste, and again, that would have started really with somebody from Enterprise Ireland visiting me or us in, I think it was about 93 or 94. He was looking after EI, Enterprise Ireland in Dusseldorf. And he came into our office and he said, look, will you come to Germany and try and export your knitwear there?
Here's a tough question. Can you remember his name? He wasn't a man by McGrath?
No, Owen Chubb was the guy's name.
No, that doesn't ring a bell with me, but there you go.
He was looking after consumer products over there, and he came into the office. He said, look, you need to come to Germany and export this knitwear. Now, we were only 3 or 4 years old. We were hardly exporting at all. And I remember saying to Owen, look, I'm too busy. We've enough to be doing. We were very, very small. And he said, Germany's the toughest market in Europe. He said, if you can crack Germany, you can crack anywhere.
Okay.
And I took the bait. He had me hooked there. And we were in Germany a few weeks later on the road, and we've been exporting to Germany ever since.
What do they like about your knitwear?
I think what the Germans like, number one, they understand quality. They understand authenticity. They understand the fact that it's made in Ireland.
Do they? Is that part of it? You know, you're big on Ireland. I know if I said to the listeners, it looks Irish. Now, it's not thei. It's just got I don't know what it is. It's got a gorgeous look. Yeah. And it's not because you're sitting in front of me.
Sure.
I was attracted when I went onto your website. The knitwear is a beautiful design.
Yeah. Yeah, the Germans get that. They've quite a high taste level. And
is that what, maybe I have very high taste as well.
Obviously. And they also have the money.
Okay.
And they don't mind paying for something if they feel they're getting value for money. Value for money doesn't have to be cheap, as you know. And then in terms of just supplying and maintaining long-term business relationships with them. So there's cultural differences, as you know. And one of the things, Germans have a reputation for being very demanding. And we don't find that. We do find that you just have to do what you said you would do on time.
Okay.
That's all they expect. They get very upset if you're late and you don't tell them. So all you have to do is what you said you would do.
How or when did you find out that little lesson? I can hear a little bit of pain in that.
No, I think that's just in us. That's the way we work. We tend to try and under-promise and over-deliver. And, you know, back in the day, 20 odd years ago, I remember going into meetings in Germany. And in the early days, Enterprise Ireland would typically help you to set up an itinerary. And it was before satellite navigation and all that kind of stuff. You'd be driving around with a map, rolling down the window in some German city looking for directions. Anyway, you'd arrive, and I remember going into one meeting with a catalogue, and we'd to spend the first 15 minutes listening to them complaining about the last time they had tried to do business with an Irish company. You know, the samples didn't arrive on time. They delivered the production late, blah, 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 blah.
Tut Ireland. That's bad.
Well, that's a long time ago.
It is. That doesn't happen now.
That doesn't happen nowadays. Yeah. That's 25 years ago, 30 years ago. That just wouldn't happen now. And but that was kind of, I suppose, the perception a lot of German companies would have had of maybe an Irish supply base, certainly in our sector at the time. And thankfully that's all changed. But they expect that. They don't like surprises. They like reliability. Do as you said you would, when you said you would do it. And they're great to deal with.
When you went into these meetings, German or English?
In those days, in my case, English, and I would have somebody with me interpreting in German. Nowadays, for me, it's still English. But we have many, I suppose for our larger key customers, we have long established relationships with them. Where we can discuss in English, but also we have German agents now as well who are obviously fluent in German. And in fact, they do 90% of it for us at this stage. I probably go to Germany once a year, twice a year at this day, and they look after that. And
like many other countries, there are different kind of areas in Germany, north and south being one big divide.
Sure.
Or is your product being sold differently in different areas? Or?
Not particularly. I suppose in Germany's such a big market, you need more than one agent to cover
60 million, isn't it, or thereabouts?
About that, yeah. I think since the unification, maybe 80. And
okay.
They know what they like. It's just a case of covering the ground. It strikes me when I've gone on the road there in the past, just the scale of the country. You just never run out of road. That's a massive market. So we've people covering the north of Germany for us and people covering sort of the middle and the south. And it's really difficult to get good agents in Germany for a small company like us because everybody wants to supply into Germany. It's such a wonderful market.
So how did you manage?
A lot of pain. A lot of pain on the way.
Does that mean like you tried, tested and didn't work, tried, tested again?
Yeah. And if you're a relatively unknown label, so, you know, you've got all the best brands in the world approaching the best sales agents. So, you know, you're well down the pecking order. But just over time, you become known and you develop a reputation. And, you know, we'd have some catalogues that we've been supplying for sort of 20 years. And you don't get to supply businesses in Germany for 20 years unless you know what you're doing, unless you're good at what you do. So eventually, you know, you become known. And really, I suppose, if you can manage to partner up with some good agents who are well known in the sector you're operating, you have the channels, it makes everything easier.
I was also delighted to having had a chat with you to learn that you have a young Irish woman who is your designer.
That's right.
It's a lovely story how you found her.
Yes. So Aisling Duff joined us about 3 years ago. And I'd gone out to NCAD one day with my wife. We had a nephew
That's
who
the
was
National
studying.
College of Art and Design.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a nephew of ours was just finishing his final year there, and he had his display. So we went out to look at that, and I said, while we're there, let's go into the textiles hall or the fashion hall. And I just noticed this fabulous display of knitwear where it was using some of the, I suppose, old traditions of Irish knitwear, but in a very modern way. And I just made a mental note. I said, that person has something to say. So we went looking for a designer or a design assistant about a year later, and just in trawling around the internet, I came across.
You still found her. Amazing.
I found her and said, that's that lady, that's that young designer. And we got in contact, and the rest is history.
That is fantastic. Lovely story.
But it does prove, it's great to see that somebody can, come through the college system and, just a few short years later, they're in a company like ours. They're the head designer and they're doing a great job. And it's great to see that work, that you don't always have to leave the country and go abroad. That's
a gorgeous story, and well done, Aisling Duff. What's the future for both the company, and maybe let's talk about what's the future for knitwear in the first place?
I think for the kind, if you'd have said 10 or 15 years ago, what about Irish knitwear? Or go back further when it was in the old days, sort of itchy, scratchy. And the answer might have been, nobody wants what we do anymore. And you had fast fashion and all the rest of it. And we've had to figure out a way of holding on to some of those old traditions, but marrying them with modern, the best of young European design, modern yarns, which are kind of wool and cashmere and silk mixes, which are soft. So holding on to the tradition, but making it relevant to the needs of today's consumer. So I think there's a bright future for Irish knitwear. And
what about this trend of people going off and knitting themselves? Is that eating into your market now?
Not really, not at all. It's knitting for yourself. It's very therapeutic, as anyone who does it would mean. I don't do it now, but I know my wife would knit regularly, and it's very, very therapeutic. It's like doing a good jigsaw or something like that, or reading a good book. You get lost in it, and it's good for the soul.
I told Tom Murphy, he is the owner of De Facto, the sponsor of this program, about you coming on, and he said that his family had one of the three, just imagine this, 3 knitting yarn shops in the country back, I don't know, it must be 50 odd years ago. But they were down to 3.
3.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It sure is.
And then, so go back to where your plans are for the future. And like you're at 50 now, could you double that again or quadruple that? Or?
I don't see why not in time.
Do you want to though? I mean, you're of an age. We're all of an age.
We're all of an age, but I suppose I still feel young. Good. And as Brendan would say, he's even younger. And we're enjoying what we do, and we've a good team around us. I suppose what we have to get better at is personally is getting out of the way and bringing in more talent and skills.
Is there more family to bring on board?
Maybe, maybe not. We don't have any hard and fast ideas about that.
I can hear succession, and we could fill a program every week about the issues around succession in a family business.
Well, one of the things we learned early on was that when the business was very young, around 92, so we're 3 or 4 years old, business was tiny. And my parents were involved at the time, and myself, my siblings, we'd all started it together. And we're all arguing, and relationships were getting damaged, becoming damaged. And we were about to move into a factory at the time, and we were buying this factory. We were getting a mortgage. And I remember saying to myself, this is getting more serious now. We have to sort out these bloody issues between us. And I had trained and qualified at the time in EY as an accountant. And one of the partners there, who's still my best friend, one of my best friends to this day, I asked him, is there anybody in there that's good at sort of conflict resolution? So he sent a man out to us, Philip Galvin was his name, and he worked with the family for about 2 weeks.
I think I remember Philip's name back in the day as well, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, he worked with us intensively, and as a result of the work we did with Philip, we got our family relationships back. and we made the business stronger too. And to this day, we're indebted to that man.
That's a lovely thing to be able to say.
Absolutely. And
accountant, psychotherapist.
Philip was a consultant. He wasn't an accountant. But, it's interesting because, the problems in family businesses are well documented. Mm-hmm. And I think we were lucky in that we just tackled it very, very early on. And
lesson is take advice, take a mentor.
Go for it, and deal with it. And that's...
Now, I'm introducing a new item onto the That Great Business Show now. I'm going to ask each guest something, which is, who would you hire in a heartbeat? If you had anybody else you could add to your team, who would that be?
One person I've always admired in business was the late Fergal Quinn. I worked in Super Quinn part-time as a schoolboy back in the 70s, stacking shelves and packing bags. And even that time I could see he and Super Quinn were way ahead in terms of their customer care and their attitude to innovation and improving the customer experience. But I also noticed with Fergal, I'd be there at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning and he would arrive in his suit on his way up to the office. He'd always have time to stop and bid you good morning. And he just proved that, it costs nothing to be nice. Yet so innovative and so forward-looking.
And you're making me smile because you have just admitted 10 minutes ago that you're holding back the innovation on the going online.
Yes.
No contradictions there, so no?
Not at all, but we're learning every day. We're learning every week. I suppose the day we think we stop learning, we're in trouble,
Final question. Ireland's Eye Knitwear in 1 year, where will you be?
Well, I've mentioned already we've grown sort of fivefold in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So we just want to keep growing like that.
Good, yeah.
And putting the brand on the map all over the world.
We had a lovely woman, Jo Brown of Jo Brown Skincare on about 3 episodes ago, and she gave an explanation about what she wants. She just wants to see where it goes. It's not about the business, really. It's just about, wonder where it goes next.
Yeah, as long as you still have the passion and you're still enjoying it. That's what it's all about, really.
That is lovely. Paul O'Sullivan, who is co-founder or co-director of Ireland's Eye Knitwear. Thank you very much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Subscribe today to That Great Business Show on your favourite podcast platform, including Apple and Spotify.
We're open for business on That Great Business Show, and we're open on hearing from your business. If you or a business you know would like to appear on Ireland's Best Business Podcast, please tell us about that business. Look on our website, thatgreatbusinessshow.com, click on the Share Your Story button, see what we're looking for, and follow the instructions. Simple as. 2 of today's guests did just that, and they're now part of Team GBS. Now, I think this week's Great Pivot Award goes to Bevan Mahan, CEO of Dental Tech, a social science graduate. Just 2 weeks ago, her company printed their first set of 3D dentures, as you do. The business, the Dental Tech Group, co-owned by Bevan along with her parents, is part dental practice, part dental tech, making dentures and false teeth, etc. And now they're a high-tech company using 3D printing to deliver dentures anywhere in the world. And the company has big plans brought on by COVID-enforced changes. Welcome to That Great Business Show, Bevan Mahan.
Thank you so much, Conal. I'm so delighted to be here. That was such an amazing intro, so I really appreciate it.
It's all downhill from here.
No pressure, absolutely no pressure.
Come here to me.
Yeah.
3D dentures, 2 weeks ago, your first ones.
Yeah.
Would they be the first 3D dentures in the world or just in Ireland? Or?
I think possibly in Ireland. Certainly it's something I had heard of in the background over the last couple of years. We had certainly been researching and how to go, to the future, digital and all these fancy words, the digital transformation and things like that. So we were looking at what changes we could make for the future. So about 3 years ago, we started researching new technology and came across 3D printed dentures, or at least the idea of it. They hadn't actually come about yet. And I thought we are going to be either first or one of the first. We're going to be on that boat.
What's the attraction?
So we work with, obviously the ageing population is our majority customer base and improving quality of life is really key. And at the moment, and when I say ageing, so it's 55 plus, actually, a lot of people think that it's a lot older and they have images in their head. So it's actually...
okay, hands up, I have. Okay, you got me.
So generally, we probably know somebody, 1 in 6 Irish adults over the age of 54 have no natural teeth left. Most of them are wearing dentures. 1 in 6.
Wow.
1 in 6 Irish
Have
adults. No natural teeth left. No natural teeth. That's from Tilda 2017. So it's
fascinating.
Relatively
brand new to me, that
research.
piece of information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you probably know a couple of people, but it's such a private and personal thing that people don't really talk about it. And I always say it's not the most sexy part of, dentistry, but it's a real necessity. And
it
it's
pays
also
the bills.
It does. It does. It's also cosmetic too, because it builds our confidence. So it just takes so long to make dentures in the traditional method. It takes...
Because that is or was the family business.
Yeah. So my parents set it up in the 1970s. So I'm second generation business.
And talk me through what used to happen if I were looking for a set of dentures, because fortunately, thank God, I have my own choppers. Shut up.
But you know where to go if you need help. Yeah. It is a lot. So roughly 4 or 5 stages, either with ourselves or with any of the dentists or dental practices around Ireland.
But even if you go to the dental practice, they're probably going to come to you anyway. Because
they
I think,
are. Yeah. So in the background, we also manufacture for dentists and dental practices all around the country. So we have that beauty where we can see both sides of it. And that was one of the biggest dilemmas. I was trying to see how do we service all of our manufacturing customers, so all of the dental practices out there, and the dentists, they want to see their patients quicker. They want to provide the product quicker and increase that quality and speed. Nobody wants to wait 4 or 5 weeks to get a set of dentures, especially if they've lost one.
And you were telling me a few minutes ago off air that people do lose them in the most unusual ways.
So, yes, we...
Come on, we're down and dirty. Come on, tell them. They go down the jacks. Where else do they go?
They go down the toilet. They get wrapped up in tissue. They've gone in the fire. They've gone down the toilet. They've gone in the bin.
Into the fire? How?
It's wrapped in a bit of tissue because people take them out if they're not fitting really well. So, unfortunately, people do take them out. And I always say to people, if you're taking them out, they're not fitting you. You need to come in. You need to get into us and get a better fitted denture.
That's the sales page.
It is, totally, yeah. Come into Dental Tech. We look after you. I think our probably most stressing story was a lady back in the 80s who had gone on holidays with her husband, 40 years married, never saw her without her dentures.
Okay.
And she lost them in the sea. Flew back from holidays. We made her dentures within 24 hours, which we can do analog way, but it's quite a bit of time. So digital really changes how we deliver that for people. We can.
Well, hold that thought for 1 second, because I still want to understand about a set of dentures. They're not real teeth, should they not?
No, they're made from a type of acrylic, so a type of plastic.
Okay. So you take or used to take anyway, the impression.
Mold, yeah.
And then you kind of pour a mold, is it?
We'd make a model, then we would make a bite registration thing, which is a block of wax made for the mouth, and then the dentist or clinician would do measurements with the patient. That would come back to the laboratory. We would do a mock or a trial, so we'd actually set the teeth up in wax so that the patient could see what it would look like, send it back to the dentist, they'd have a look at it, send it back for finish. It takes about 2 days to process it from start to finish. And then send it back. So all in all, it takes about 12 to 13 hours, man hours in a laboratory, and it takes about between 6 and 9 hours for a dentist or clinician to do it.
Wow. So there's 20 good hours in there.
Of real high tech.
I have no idea about this at all. How much does a set of dentures cost?
I suppose it ranges. Probably in circa around, I suppose, maybe 2,500 if it's for top and bottom.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Jeez, every time they go in the fire, the jar.
Well, hopefully they don't.
I'll tell you where my hand would be.
There are different ranges, though, I suppose. You can actually get at a lower cost, depending on what you need. There's definitely other options out there. So
3D printing is going to make it quicker, cheaper?
So it will, yeah.
Okay, so that's good news.
Yeah, it is.
How will the process work with 3D printing?
So we'll be scanning the mouth or scanning the initial mold, and then we'll actually go straight to design the trial stage, so that third visit, so that somebody will be able to see what it looks like. The beauty about that visit is that up until now, that's always been in wax, so the actual fitting part of it has never been able to be checked, really, because it's wax, it's kind of flexible. With the printed material, it'll almost be the full identical finished product, so really be able to check all of the measurements, how it's fitting, everything. So we reckon that within 12 months, we'll get it down to 2 visits, and we can do it within 24 hours. We can do it within 2 hours, actually, if we need to. But we're not going to tell everybody that right now. We don't want that pressure.
You're on That Great Business Show podcast.
I've just said it. I can't take it back. If we scan somebody's mouth now, and really, if you think of somebody who's in a nursing home, who potentially their health would deteriorate very quickly if they couldn't eat.
They need their choppers to eat proper food, correct?
They do. Yeah. And if we have a scan of their mouth, we have that on file. We get a call. Mary's lost her denture, we've got already a scan of that mouth. We've got a scan and a design of the denture. We can click print. We can have it to them in 2 hours.
Now, we are not That Great Denture Show.
We can change the channel if you like.
Because the real reason that you're here is to talk about your business, because you have international designs.
Yeah.
See the way I got design in there?
I love it. So we didn't always have that. We had been talking about it for quite a while, and COVID actually presented a massive opportunity for us.
It's mad what COVID has done for people. Now, I know it's got a huge, massive problem, and it's unfortunate. And do wear masks and all that.
Yeah.
But it is making businesses change for the better.
It's making us think. It's putting us under pressure. That's not to say for the first couple of weeks of COVID, I definitely had a meltdown. Probably several where I went, we're going to be okay, we're not going to be okay, we're going to be okay.
Because the whole thing was stopped.
Absolutely.
And there wasn't a dentist going to look into a mouth.
Everything was closed. Our manufacturing was closed. The nursing homes were shut off. Our clinics were just at emergency level. And I was really worried about my team because how are they going to pay their rents? How are they going to pay their mortgages? As soon as the government supports came out, I could take a breath. I was like, okay, great. We've got some resources there. And then I looked at the opportunity. We'd been thinking about this digital transformation. I have an amazing team. They're absolutely phenomenal. The thing about dental technicians, and certainly in dental tech, is they always thought, digital, I'm going to be out of a job. And I kept saying to them, it's a bit like Bill Gates saying, if I put a PC in every workstation, people going, I'm going to be out of a job. So COVID gave me a chance. My guys could think. They had spare time. They started looking at the digital. They started researching it. They started watching webinars and things like that, and really said, this is going to hone in on my amazing skills that I have already. So it completely transformed my team's ideas around it, and we really saw it as an opportunity. And the government supports were brilliant, so I definitely have to...
Who came in behind you there?
So AIB was a huge backer for us. We've been with them for 40 years, and they were phenomenal. Really saw
any
the
particular
potential.
Branch, because we do give shout outs.
Yeah, so Clodagh McCarthy from Dame Street, so she was phenomenal.
Well done,
really
Clodagh.
saw what we wanted to do. Enterprise Ireland have been phenomenal. My DA Jeff McMullen has been brilliant, and really, again, do you know what? They just got what we were trying to do.
But EI was also saying, get off the island, I hope, as in...
Oh, absolutely.
So how are you going to bring your dentures, your choppers abroad?
So anyone in the world who has an intraoral scanner, which is a mouth scanner, which a lot of dentists do, they can take a scan of the mouth and they can send it to us by email.
Okay.
So once we get that, we can design the denture and we can send it back to them.
But you are presumably in competition. Say, just take the UK, that you say, I will deal with UK dentists. Are there 3D denture manufacturers over in the UK? I presume there are.
I suppose one of the beauties, and maybe I shouldn't be saying this on radio because everyone's going to hear it then.
Podcast.
We are.
We've moved from radio. Radio so yesterday.
Podcast. So we're on the podcast, and we're quite niche because, as I said, dentures aren't really the sexy side of dentistry, and
they pay the bills. That's sexy in business.
Most laboratories, most technicians out there, they're absolutely amazing at crown and bridge work. They're amazing at orthodontics, and not a lot of people are actually specialising in dentures like us.
Okay.
So we are, I say, a dying breed almost. And by bringing the technology in, we can upskill our existing team and we can hire more people to do it and train more people to do it.
So would you think, say, with the UK, we sort of take that as just the nearest market, is that you go there, will you 3D print here and ship them by DHL or whatever, or will you plunk a 3D printer somewhere in the UK?
So our plan initially would be that we would...
She's rubbing her hands here. Our plans for world domination. The only thing you're short of is stroking the cat.
Well, it'd be a dog. I'm definitely a dog person. Where we see our growth would be initially that we would... So job creation and sustainability here is number one priority. Always very proud that through any tough times, we've always maintained and grown our team. And that's what it's all about. Our team is first and foremost. We love our customers, but if our team are happy, our customers will automatically be happy. So team first and foremost. We'd like to grow that team here and add to it. Eventually, so 5 years' time, we would look at logistically, it wouldn't be realistic for us to service the US from here. So we would look to have somewhere there within the next 3 to 5 years, the same as the UK and the same with Europe.
I think I told you before, Connecticut, if anybody wants to go to the States, Connecticut wants your business and they will open their everything, their bank balances as well, everything with Connecticut. Ireland, Connecticut Business Council. I am a member. And anybody who wants to get involved, just give me a shout. So back to your the practice, because it's actually bigger than dentures. You also have a dental practice.
We do.
How many? So
we've got 4 locations at the moment. And it's mainly dentures. So one of the things, we do have a dental practice in Dublin, in our Dublin clinic.
In Dundrum?
In Terranure, actually. Not far from here in Dublin. Yeah, not far in Terranure. And our other locations are dentures only. So we specialise in dentures. We do dental, but it's really as a support to the denture. So possibly somebody needs a tooth extracted or a filling so they can get their dentures. So we look after a kind of holistic approach.
And I know that you're the biggest and the best in the country and in the world, but are there other competitors in Ireland that we shouldn't mention?
I'm definitely, I don't think so, Conal. Nope, not aware of anybody.
Are there others?
There would be. Again, not
would
on,
be.
There would be. There are some amazing clinicians out there, but certainly not on the scale that we currently have. And
how many are you employing now? On the denture side, 36?
Yeah, 36 across the team, yeah.
And how much has that grown by?
Oh, well, it started out when I joined in 2001, there was 2 staff. So,
okay. And as I mentioned before, you were big on dentures because you had done a social science degree.
I'd done my social science degree.
That was really useful, wasn't it?
Do you know, listen, people say, you're not the technician, you're not the clinician, you're not the dentist, you're not the denturist. Where does this... It has been amazing for me because I never get pulled into surgery. I never get pulled into the lab for manufacturing. So I've always been able to look at it from a helicopter or problem solving perspective. And I'm really passionate about our patients. So I always feel that, well, I'm going to be potentially one of them down the line. And my parents. You told me
before you came in here, it's not about brushing your teeth, it's about flossing.
It is, yeah.
Okay, so you keep flossing.
Yes, I'll be grand. But if I need dentures, I know a good place. For everybody who can't see on the podcast, Conal is actually doing the floss here. So I think we should have video here.
The future. Okay, you're going to go international. How big do you want to grow the business? You're still like keen and,
I'm not sure that there's a limit on that. There might have been a couple of years ago. I might have, I suppose, never really expected to grow beyond Dublin and Leinster.
And what changed your mind?
I think the biggest thing was I joined a group called Going for Growth in 2013. The amazing Paula Fitzsimons set this up as a way to...
3 weeks running, we've now mentioned Paula Fitzsimons. She is incredible.
Phenomenal person. She is like the rock star for female entrepreneurs. So prior to meeting her and meeting Going for Growth, I think I was living in a tunnel with no lights on, and Going for Growth certainly helped put those lights on. I could really see huge opportunity. Surrounding ourselves with like-minded people, and I think because I'm second generation business, I always liked to, as I grew it, protect my mum and dad because I could see it as an opportunity for them to retire and still get the benefits of having a business. So it can be quite lonely. So I really found that camaraderie through Going for Growth to be phenomenal, and I'm still amazing friends with so many of them. I actually every Saturday go walking with a girl called Tara Beatty from the Caterers, so you probably need to get her on the show too. She's
Tara,
brilliant.
You're welcome to come on, get in touch, because we are the Gender Balance Show. We want 2 women on each show.
She's my support, so yeah.
Come here to me before we go. I have asked everybody to name me at least one person that you would hire in a heartbeat. At least one person. Doesn't have to be famous or anything. Who would you hire?
So I would hire one of my mentors who lives in the Ukraine. Her name is Nadia Vasilieva. She is the global expert on blockchain, big data and IoT. And
where did you come across her?
So through Going for Growth, I mean, this is the thing, Going for Growth has just been an amazing channel. I was asked, one of the leads put me forward for applying for a thing called the Global Ambassadors Programme, which is a partnership between Vital Voices and Bank of America.
And Ferrero Rocher. Get that?
Female entrepreneurs with a social impact. And there was basically 11 women from around the globe partnered with 11 mentors. The fabulous Nora Casey was one of the mentors as well. She was super, and she has been mentoring me. I mean, she's the reason we got funding last year. So I'm definitely big shout out to her. So I met Nora through that, but we were mentored by all 11 mentors. But Nadia has stayed my mentor. And
in the Ukraine, is that what you said?
From the Ukraine. So I bring her out.
And is she in the Ukraine?
She's in the Ukraine.
Oh, cool.
And one of the things that happened pre-COVID, I know you had said to me, what bit of advice would I give out there for anybody listening? Surround yourself with advisors if you can. I set up an advisory board in February 2020, a month before all of this hit. And it has been phenomenal for me to be able to lean on those people and have them as a group. And we wondered how we were going to meet because Nadia came over in February from the Ukraine. And after that, I was wondering, how are we going to do this advisory board meeting? Is she going to remote on WhatsApp? And then Zoom came about. So we all Zoom now.
So big shout out again to Nadia
Vasilieva.
Nadia Vasilieva. You are the person that you would hire in a heartbeat. And that person who would hire you is your pal, Bevan Mahan. And her business is called the Dental Tech Group. Thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
You're listening to That Great Business Show with Connell O'Moran and Jamie Heaslip. ThatGreatBusinessShow.com.
We do business differently on That Great Business Show, and we treat our sponsors differently too. We don't just read out a message. We ask you, Team GBS, to actively support their business because they support us. That's why we ask you to buy de facto shave oil for men and women, the best anyone can get. One €16 bottle can last as much as a year, so it's a small commitment that will make a big difference to your shaving experience. Made in Mayo, sold around the world. defactoshave.com.
This could be your ad on ThatGreatBusinessShow.com. That Great Business Show.
Sea swimming is a very, very good thing for your business, according to our next guest on the Great Business Show. Tommy Kearns is co-founder of Extreme Push, a business that has absolutely nothing to do with swimming. We'll get onto that and what they do and how they've just opened a base camp on Park Avenue in Manhattan to start their assault on the USA. But when I was chatting with Tommy, I told him about a friend of mine, Dave Kerr, of Wicklow IT company VBT, who runs underwater. Yeah, he runs underwater holding rocks, and that's just for sport. Don't ask. Former Connacht rugby player Tommy then told me he holds his breath for his health, which was hard to do while he was talking to me. Welcome to That Great Business Show, Tommy.
Thanks for having me, Connell. It's great to be here.
Talk about breathing. You believe in breathing deeply.
I do. I certainly do. I think that came about when COVID came about, just with all the different stresses of COVID and family life, etc. And I started to do some sea swimming. So now I'm kind of getting in maybe 3 to 5 days a week, even more sometimes, whereby I get in for a paddle in the sea and do 10 minutes in it. It's really good.
It's great for your head, but there's something else you told me about.
Yeah, no, it's great for vascular tonality.
That's the word I couldn't remember.
Vascular tonality. It's a funny word, but it's really good for the veins. No more than in sport, you're kind of contracting the muscle and relaxing the muscle, and it's good for toning the muscle. It's the same with your veins and arteries and capillaries. So when you get into the sea, it contracts, into your core, and then when you get out, it starts to relax again. So it's that kind of vascular tonality we talk about.
And then that rips some kind of alkalinity or something out of it?
Through that, and then through breathing, you can alkaline your body better, because we're all usually, from the stress of everyday life, we're kind of all very acidy or acidosis, and so that alkaline your body from breathing helps to kind of get away the stresses of life, and also help your immune system.
I swear to God, there is only one business show on the planet Earth is talking about vascular tonality and about acidity.
Yeah.
Come here to me. You have a marketing software that marketing people seem to love. Why?
Yeah. So good question. So basically, our software helps brands around the world understand their digital users, all right, and communicate to them across all the digital channels.
When I was looking at it, it struck me that you're kind of like a little spy on behalf of the owner of the software. It is very, very clever.
Yeah.
How clever? What can it do?
Well, it's based on the first-party data, which is the data that when you're on an e-commerce website and you're browsing and you're stitching together the transactional data, the location data, so as you get a better picture of your customer. It's all around giving value back to the customer on behalf of the brand.
So talk me through. John or Mary is off trying to buy a jumper.
Yeah. So it's a good question. So if you look at John and Mary, they're on an e-commerce site. They're on a brand, noname.com, and they're buying a pair of no-name runners. All right. So they've gone down that intent. They've looked at a number of different styles of runners. They've then gone down and they've gone into the basket and they've bought the runners. Okay. So we would then be able to get an understanding of the likes and dislikes of John. All right. And then
how?
Well, from their intent, their browsing intent on the actual noname.com.
Well, you know that it's a he or a she for a start.
You do, especially from the transactional data. You know that it's John, and you know that he's been browsing those no-name runners. All right,
okay.
And basically,
so John loves Nike. Okay,
yeah. So now you start to see, you get a picture of John.
Okay,
and you start to understand that John also has been browsing the sweatpants. All right, or the shorts. All right, or the swim shorts in that matter. Right, and so you start to relevantly, as a brand, as a retail brand, you start to understand that customer better. So when you decide to communicate to them, you're communicating them in a personalized fashion, but also with relevant content. And we go one step further and we say, personalized, relevant content, relevant time in the relevant channel. So if you look at what's happening around the world right now, we're all living off a number of devices, not just one device. So John, to go back to John, so John might be on the mobile all day, okay, but he's on the laptop during the day. He's on the iPad maybe in the evening, okay? And we can get an understanding of, and you're also understanding that he's doing different things. So he might be browsing on the iPad and he might be buying on the laptop.
And can you stitch that together, that the same John?
Correct.
Wow.
We do all of that. So we
whose brains has come up with the software? Is this you or your team?
No, the team. So we.
And where did you come up with this idea?
Well, I've been in the mobile technology business probably about 17, 18 years, going back to value-added services, ringtones and logos. But really from the software perspective, the second wave was kind of mobile apps and systems. And then the third wave is, okay, well, we have these mobile applications, but how do we communicate to our customers or to our users, or driving our users, stimulating customers from users? So we came up with Extreme Push, the platform. It's a platform play. It's a SaaS service, software as a service, back in 2015 now 5.5 years old. And
you have some chunky customers.
Yeah.
Name those tunes.
Well, sorry, relevant to the Irish market, from we would deal with, the two main banks, BOI, AIB. We deal with RTE, I&M, that's independent.ie, and also Irish Times. We also do.
You got Irish Times very recently.
Very recently,
right?
yeah.
Happy days.
Really good people to work with.
And
too.
I don't want to know their business particularly, but typically they will now find out in granular detail what is going on when people are looking at the digital or on their online
on their online
newspaper.
app and web, and so that's where we can stitch both together. But what's really interesting there is from a publisher's perspective. Okay, we're enabling them to get a better understanding of what, in your case, Conal, what you're reading, what your likes are, what your dislikes are. So as when you do get an email or a push notification or an in-app message, you're not getting something that's irrelevant to you. Mm-hmm. Their business model is around, as you know yourself, is around advertising, right? So it's about driving more eyeballs or to the reader, to the online paper or whatever, and keeping it there for longer. The only way you do that is to stimulate readership. All right, and the only way you do that is have something compelling to read.
Now, you will provide all the data.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's incredible data.
No, so we don't provide the data. So we provide a platform that plugs into the brand. So,
okay.
And they own the data.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And so
what they do with it after that is their business.
Yeah, so we help them stitch that data together to get a better understanding of the customer. So as when they communicate, it becomes really, really relevant. So for example, in banks, if you think about financial well-being or kind of financial alerts, when you tap your, in today's market, when you tap your phone or your card, you get an alert to your phone to say I spent, $3.90 on a coffee. Yeah. Okay. We do all of that. So we enable all those comms, all right, across all of them. So it might be a push, it might be an email, it might be an SMS, it might be a Facebook Messenger message, it might be any of the digital channels, outbound channels. We also do on site. And where we're kind of unique is that we're able to unify all of those channels in one platform. So, over the last 10 years, you've had a lot of what they call in the market is point solutions, doing a bit of SMS or doing a bit of email. We're able to, by using our platform plugged in, give the brands the ability to see their customers across all the channels and then communicate across them in the relevant form.
Yeah, I'm beginning to see that there's a kind of a trend there. We had another company, Solgarion, and it is answering a solution because we are using so many different types of devices, isn't that it?
That's it. So personalization is around the devices that they're on and and what content you're consuming.
Now, the Extreme Push is the brand, and it's appearing to be very, very successful. But interestingly, for me, you didn't go down what I would say was the traditional route of, you didn't go to a VC. You decided to try to bootstrap it.
Yeah, so I suppose the backdrop to that would be that, I've been involved in a number of businesses over the last few years, and this one we got, because it's a business-to-business software business, we were able to get early traction with customers, so we got a good product market fit early, and we then just started to keep selling and minding our customers, all right, and we kind of hit a sweet spot insofar as people were liking what we were providing to them as a solution. And we were able to get to profitability, drive the revenue and get profitability very, very quickly within 13, 14 months.
That's incredible.
So it's different now. It's not always the same in a B2C market, in a business to consumer market. It's a lot more capital intensive. But for us, we were able to get that good revenue growth, high growth revenue, and also keep the kind of guardrails on of profitability of the P&L. And then when it came to scaling the business out into the UK and into Europe, we were able to look at both organic growth in those markets, all right, so, hiring new people and driving sales that way, but also looking at acquisitions. So we made an acquisition back in February 2018, which was a really good complementary technology, which was email. So to just complete the multi-channel engagement stack, which what we have, and we were able to do that acquisition with a debt financier rather than an equity financier.
And why did you choose debt over equity?
Great question. It's all around alignment, to be honest with you. So we would have got a great debt financier at that point, expensive debt, but also cheap equity, all right, if you think about it.
How expensive?
It was into the double digits at the time. But the business was able to afford that.
Okay. And
then it becomes a decision. Do you want to drive the business on with the team you have and the shareholders you have within, or do you want to go outside and it's a dilution question as well as a strategic question. So we decided that we would do it through debt and drive on that way. And it's been exceptionally successful for us. So it's enabled us to grow threefold.
And because you have a successful business, you're able to switch providers of debt and get the cost of your debt down. Am I right?
Yeah, so we made our first acquisition in 2018, and then we made our second one just coming into COVID, would you believe? We finalised it just before COVID. And
Had you known?
Well, no, actually, we would have done it anyway. What is it? 2020 is hindsight, is there something? But basically,
2020 was a rotten year.
Yeah. 2020 was a challenging year. All right, but yeah, we made our second acquisition, and we did that. We did that off the balance sheet. Actually, we were able to do that, but because the profile of the business was getting bigger and better, both from a revenue perspective and a profitability perspective, we were able to go out to other parties. So we basically refinanced the business during COVID for a growth refinance. So usually some refinances can be negative. This was a very positive refinance where we were looking for growth capital for the States. And we were also looking for a partner who could come with us along that journey a bit further, as we scale up dramatically over the coming years. So
did you get the cost of finance under double digits?
Absolutely.
Oh, good man.
Absolutely. No. So the cost of capital came dramatically down because of our profile. But also we have a partner now where we have access to, a lot of capital where they'll finance up to 15 million of acquisitions with us. So
you
really,
better give
really
them
good.
a shout out.
Beachbrook Capital, yes.
They love you. They might
so based out of...
I might get another few pips off the cost of capital for you.
Yeah, you might actually, yeah. But basically, yeah, they're based out of the UK and Cork, all right, and really, really good people to deal with, very straightforward, and have been a massive help to the business.
And what you said was that you raised extra cash because you have now opened up, not anywhere in the States, Park Avenue, posh or what?
Yeah. Well, look, we want to be central, so we decided to go down that route.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and also, a shout out has to go out to EI on that, because they're also very, very helpful on that, and they always have been, specifically around looking and finding kind of work offices. It's when we're remote, it's not that important, but it will be over the coming months. So really important for us. We just literally have done that in the last month and a half. So when we just, I suppose the other big news that we did in the last few days was we hired our head of North America for VP of Sales. I'm trying to get used to the VP language, right? But,
just put VP anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I love their
right?
VP.
But the US kind of language, which is the standard over there. But yeah, so he's going to head up.
Where did you find that person?
So he's a very senior guy who's coming out of, he's been in companies like Hearst Digital, all right, and a couple of big e-commerce companies, and he's leaving DraftKings, which is probably the number 2 or 1, should I say, sports betting and gaming companies in the world right now. So he's leaving them to come join us in the next week and 2.
And the plans for the business to go from wherever you are at the moment. How big are you at the moment?
Yeah, so we've a team of just over 70 now.
70?
70 people. Yeah, across
That's
8
chunky.
Across 8 different markets. Some satellites, but we have offices in the UK. 2 offices in the UK, Lithuania. We have Poland. We have Ukraine. We also have now the US. We have a couple of satellite offices as well. But yeah, so we're looking to. We're looking to kind of build a big business over the coming 3 years. We want to build a business into 30 to 40 million ARR, annual recurring revenue, licensing revenue. And
because when you grow it to that, I know that business can be sold at a multiple of maybe 10 to 12 times ARR.
That's the market would say that right now. Okay,
40 times 10 is 400. 40 times 12 is tipping $500 million.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. How soon will you be a $500 millionaire?
I wish I could tell you, but there's a lot of work and a lot of
course there is to make $500 million.
Yeah. But
how quickly do you think can you grow?
I think we can, our plans are to be in the range of 30 to 40 within 3 to 4 years.
Happy days.
That's the ambitions. We have very big ambitions. We have really good customers who are really kind of supporting us on the way through as well.
Is there anything that Team GBS, our listeners, can do for you? Now, you are business to business, and you are... Actually, one other question before I get there is, how small can you go? If anybody listening, you do sound like big brand.
Yeah, no, I think it'll probably lead into the question you just asked. I think any customer or any brand that is B2C focused, all right, and B2B in some cases, because we work with some B2B brands as well, all right, to help them win their personalized comms. But if they have a website and an app, we can help get them a better understanding of their digital, all right, users and communicate better with them. So if they
What's your minimum cost of entry for somebody to use your platform?
Oh, it's a hard one to answer if the truth be known. But we are a kind of SMB enterprise focused.
Put a number on it.
Well, I would say you could 3 to 5 grand a month.
Okay,
you know what I mean, that's the kind of that's entry kind of level,
and that will give you an understanding to the colour of their hair and the colour of their eyes, basically.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And it also it gives them for us, because what we do in the end is we help them understand their users and then drive a better experience for their users and customers and drive revenue.
Okay.
You know, so the ROI that we give on that SaaS licensing is, you know, tenfold.
Now, final question. We are now doing this new thing is, who would you hire in a heartbeat to add to make your business even better?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I think if you, to answer that, you have to think about where we are and what we're trying to achieve. So we're now scaling the business. We're trying to, you know, internationalize significantly and ramp that up. So if you were to look at, you know, traditionally some of the really successful internationalization brands. The people who've been successful at that is the likes of the Smurfits, you know, the likes of Dennis O'Brien. The list goes on. But in our tech, we're a technology business in this era. I think, to be honest with you, we would, if I could get somebody on our team to help us bring us to the very next level, which is into that kind of zone that you're talking about there. Mm-hmm. It would have to be, and they're Irish too, is Patrick and John Collison.
Of course.
They have the Stripe brand, massive payment engine. They have built a product that is really, really good, but they've been massively successful in globalization of that. And also, where there's a crossover between payments and engagement. All right. So I think, they could massively help us on the kind of distribution end and helping us internationalize it. And I think we could help maybe on the engagement and the understanding side.
Well, maybe that if the Collisons are listening in, I know Mammy Collison does. So there you go. So she may pass on the connection to the That Great Business Show. Yeah. That is our time, Tommy Kearns of Extreme Push. Great name. Where did you find the name?
A co-founder, one of the co-founders, found it. We were kicking around. It's like every name. There's no massive story around it. We were looking at a load of names, and we kind of went Extreme Push. It's XTREME. It's not EX. And we said, that sounds something that is quite energetic.
It does too, doesn't it? Good call to whoever came up with that one. Yeah. So, yeah. The person who didn't come up with that name is Tommy Kearns.
Yeah, correct.
Of Extreme Push. And thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Thank you.
It's all go, let Cursey know on thatgreatbusinessshow.com. That Great Business Show.
As you're listening to this podcast, it means that you are now a member of Team GBS, where we back businesses. We are a team, and we'd like to keep you in the loop about what we're doing, what's coming up next, and opportunities for you and your business. The best way to keep up to speed with us is to follow us on our LinkedIn page, where we send out a sneak peek every week. That rhymes. And we'll be adding more to it as we grow our own business. Sign up to thatgreatbusinessshow.com LinkedIn page today. Now, we do get great feedback from Team GBS about what they learn about businesses on That Great Business Show. The simple hacks and the shortcuts mentioned by guests, and the listeners then apply them to their own businesses. And here's a new one on me. The founder of Kindora, Canadian Sarah Wallet, put on an ad on LinkedIn looking for a co-founder. Sarah, we'll get to Kindora in a second. But why did you advertise on LinkedIn? Surely you got more flakes than a Cadbury's box. I just made that up. That's terrible, isn't it? I've got 2 kids who are going to go mental now with that stupid dad
jokes, absolutely. Well, I am relatively new to Ireland, and so looking for a co-founder was a unique challenge for me. It was in the middle of the pandemic. I couldn't just go out and meet people at kind of networking events. I tried to use other platforms, like there are co-founder search platforms you can find online, but nothing was right for Ireland. And so I thought, well, I use LinkedIn for other parts of my life and business. I have advertised for jobs there before. Why not try it for this? And so I did get a really interesting cross-section of people who applied for the role. And
that is a euphemism. How many flakes and how extreme flakies were they?
So I will say this, it wasn't too far on either end, but there were some people who I think maybe misread what I was trying to do.
They're the flakes.
They were really looking for, I think they saw COO because it's an operations role. And they thought, oh, great, this is, a C-level operations gig that's going to pay me a couple $100,000 a year. And this was the complete opposite to that.
Because you told them... What was the question you posed first of all?
Well, the question was, the first thing I said was, this is a startup business starting in the middle of a pandemic. Are you up for that challenge?
With pay packet of?
Zero. Absolute zero, for as long as we can foresee at the moment. So it was really about, are you willing to get your hands dirty and start something from scratch? Some people got that, some people didn't. Some people were coming from completely different backgrounds that had very little to do with what we were going to be working in. Great chats. I had great chats with people, but were absolutely not the right fit. But I did end up finding my co-founder that way. And his name is Barry Hanley. He stood out for a couple of reasons, but the first thing was he was the first person who, when they saw the ad and sent me a message on LinkedIn, asked me questions. And
there's a little hint.
It was really it. So he asked me questions around myself and what I was looking to do, asked for information before he applied. So wanted to know if I had a deck or I had some background I could give him. So all those things really made me think, okay, he's taking this seriously. And he takes his time seriously. And then we just started, we had a coffee because this was pre kind of lockdown times, or in between 2 lockdowns maybe. And we met up a few times, and it was really clear that he had the right background, the right experience, and really the right skill set. So complemented my skill set really well.
And what did you tell him about Kindora? Because that's my nice way of saying, talk about the business.
Yeah. So Kindora is a digital marketplace. We call it a managed marketplace that specializes in buying, selling, and renting premium, pre-loved baby and kids goods. So it's a long kind of description, but basically...
Pre-loved means secondhand.
It means secondhand, but we really take it in the way that it's more about high quality secondhand. So we only operate on the premium end. We only do the key investment items that parents need to buy. So we don't do clothes. We don't do soft toys, that type of thing. We do prams. We do nursery furniture, really big items that you might have to think of it as an investment, and that have a short shelf life. So your baby naturally and in a good way outgrows them.
And the reason that you know so much about this is?
I have a baby.
And was that the source of the business?
It was. And look, it's really funny because I say to people, like, I had my daughter 16 months ago. My partner and I were kind of older, having our first baby. We had a really nice lifestyle. We liked all kinds of nice things. And that kind of translated into what we bought for our baby. And we also didn't know what we were doing. So we were taking advice from everyone who would say, buy this, you need this, or buy that, you need that. So we ended up with this great set of kit, and we used maybe a third of it because she either didn't like this certain toy or she wouldn't sleep in the co-sleeper, like who knows. But we had this stuff that was great stuff, cost us a fortune. What were we going to do with it? And so I was literally on Vestiaire Collective one day doing a wish list of handbags. And Vestiaire Collective is an amazing kind of secondhand, or they call it pre-owned marketplace that specializes in luxury goods. So
that's why I have never heard of it.
Well, it's interesting because it's not just what you think are traditional luxury goods. So it could be, yes, handbags and watches and things, but it's absolutely still clothing. They do some antiques. They do a whole cross-section of stuff, but they're enormous. I mean, they have 10 million registered users around the world.
Whoa. So just shout out a name again. Vestiaire
Collective.
V-E-S-T...
Vestiaire, Vestiaire. It's a French word.
Okay.
They started in Paris. And they are now global. They have, and what their kind of USP is that you can buy an item. It's a peer-to-peer marketplace. But when you buy an item, it gets sent to them for authentication and then sent on to you. And that is a real huge difference to buying through any other marketplace, because what you're insured of there is that it's not a fake. So you're buying a really nice Chanel handbag. It's definitely a real one. They check for quality. So you buy on the premise of someone listing that item as, in good condition. They double and triple check that for you. So if they don't think that's met that condition, they'll contact the seller to say, no, it's not good enough.
Excuse me while I just go on my phone here for a second.
It's amazing.
It's incredible. And the reason that you know so much about that is because in the past, and you've had, as they say in Ireland, quite a past.
That sounds ominous, doesn't it?
But you were in Hong Kong at one stage, and you had a platform for art. Is that right? I
did, yeah. So I've been very lucky that I'm from Canada originally, but I've been out of Canada for about 20 years and accidentally had this great kind of career traveling the world, working in amazing businesses and places. So I spent 9 years in Australia, which was an accident totally. I went there as a backpacker and just never left. Became an Australian citizen, the whole thing. And then decided it was time to inch closer to Canada. Not quite ready to go back yet. And so I went to Hong Kong and I spent 5 years there. And Vestiaire Collective has an authentication center there. It's a big part of their business through Asia. And I loved it. I mean, it was a very different Hong Kong to what's happening now, but I wouldn't have changed it. It was amazing. And while I was there, got involved in a couple of small businesses, but one was a startup that we unfortunately didn't quite get off the ground, but it was an art rental startup. It was called Artery. I love that name. It was one of my, I should be top of my CV that was the name of a business.
I love a good business name, and that is a nice business name.
We were so happy with it. It was such a light bulb moment.
However, Artery is no longer, is it?
It's no longer, although, someone should pick up the idea and do it.
The artery was cut.
The artery was cut. Bing. Yes, exactly. Dad jokes coming thick and fast over here. But the whole platform idea was, first time or kind of new art investors could buy their first piece of art and unlock some of the equity from it right away by renting it out to hospitality businesses, hotels, restaurants, that type of thing, who would pay a rental fee. But also the more that artwork was seen, the higher the value would go. And we liked it because a lot of people living in Hong Kong had a lot of disposable income and were buying up art for the first time in their lives. Our stumbling block was insurance. There wasn't an insurance product that fit what we were doing. We tried to develop one, but it was just very, very hard. So different ballgame now. You could do it, absolutely. But it was my first foray into kind of this idea of a sharing economy and how you could start to kind of build out of that.
Because sustainability is central and core to Kindora.
Absolutely. So the whole idea behind Kindora is that we are almost the antithesis to an adverts or a done deal. So where they are kind of mass and you're dealing with all kinds of people and you're dealing with tire kickers and people who are going to negotiate down the price as quickly as possible. We do the opposite. So when you list an item with us...
You're not pushing the prices up.
Not pushing the prices up, but we're certainly getting more in return on the original price you paid for that item. And you're not having to do any work for it.
Hang on a second. If you spent, I don't know, take a number, 300 quid on something, you're not going to sell it for a higher number.
No, but we're going to get you up to kind of 80% of the retail.
Okay.
Whereas on somewhere like adverts or Facebook Marketplace, something like that, it's a race to the bottom, really. So you're going to get maybe a 50% return. We're going to get you much higher on that.
So where can you bring Kindora?
Where can we bring it in terms of
the world?
Yeah, I think
size.
So. This is absolutely a model we think can go across the world. We're focused on Europe at this stage, so Ireland is our pilot market, and the idea is we launched it here for a number of reasons, and we launched it fast. So we came up with the concept kind of in July, August. Did some research. Just gone. Yep. So we did a bit of research before that. We did a survey of 103 parents just to see, is this just kind of my idea?
I'm sorry, I have to ask. 103. Why not 100? Why not 100?
I know, good. Really strange number. I think we'd sent it out to 110 and 103 responded. Okay. But I like that number. It kind of sticks with me. And the responses to that survey were really interesting. So I think what we found was a lot of people buy a number of things in their life secondhand. So furniture, like vintage furniture, records, clothing, jewelry. They'll buy, we kind of say this is somebody who has Scandinavian secondhand furniture in their house. And they would like to do this for what they're buying for their child. But there's not really a place to do that in a way that makes them feel comfortable around cleanliness, safety, that kind of stuff.
Because the cleanliness, I saw this, is that it's screened and cleaned.
Yes.
So there's no baby sick on it.
None. There will be none. Every item that comes to us, it takes that vestiaire model. So when you buy something from someone, through Kindora, it is sent to us. We completely take it apart. We clean it. We make sure that it's in the condition that it should be in. And
am I talking to the head cleaner?
You're talking to someone who is, at this point, the head cleaner, the packer, the letter writer, the everything.
So if somebody in Paris says, I have this to sell, so she ships to you in Ireland, and then you could be selling it to, I don't know, to UK again. So it's kind of going all over the place, yeah?
At the moment, we're only in the Irish pilot, but in 6 months' time, we will have a workshop in mainland Europe. So we will cut down on the back and forth around geography. So likely somewhere in the Netherlands or in Portugal, we're looking at those two as hubs.
Portugal, it's very warm.
Oh, my money's on Portugal. I'm telling you, I'm already put my hand up for that one. Oddly, a number of the brands and manufacturers who work in this space are based in the Netherlands. So it's a great space for us to be there if we want to work with them directly, but we'll see. But the idea would be that we source mainly from urban centers. So Dublin, Copenhagen, Amsterdam, that's where we'll be sourcing those products from. We'll come and pick it up from you. So you'll schedule a date on the calendar, just an automated system. Your item has sold. Here's the time and the date that you can get it picked up. We'll come and get it from you for no cost. Comes to us. We check everything. We clean everything. We package it up in really nice, sustainable packaging, and it gets sent to the buyer.
And somewhere along the line, because it is a business, you have to take a cut.
We do. So we charge a commission, and it's a sliding scale. So it's between 18 and 30% of the final sales fee.
And where did you come up with that number?
We looked at a number of models that are doing kind of similar types of structures, and it seems to be the most common range. Now, we're in the middle of this Irish pilot to refine everything. So we launched quickly so that we could test in a real world scenario. We kind of debated, do we wait until kind of 2021 to launch this? And our gut feeling, and really what it came down to, was we won't know anything until we test this. Yep. And so we went into the market in November, and it has been really interesting to see that we started with no commission, and then we inched up the commission, and now we're in a place where we have return sellers coming to us and selling up to 3 and 4 items with us. Often what happens is someone says, I'm trying to sell my pram, but I also have these 4 things. Yeah. Would you take them? We'll have a look, and we'll say, yeah, we'll take these 2, because we know those can sell through us. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's
so
great.
You have market intelligence as well.
Everything we're doing is data-driven. So everything from our acquisition strategy around finding buyers, sellers, and renters for products, right through to sourcing products. So everything is driven by data, even down to like what are the best-selling items that we can stock into the shop. There's some things that we would love to stock, but there's an oversaturation of them in the market. It doesn't make sense for us. There's a couple of items that as soon as we get them in, they sell. Like we had an item sell within 32 minutes of hitting the site. And it's a really beautiful baby carrier, which is very hard to find secondhand. So we've been able to source a couple of them, and it's been such a great thing.
I am being convinced of this business. It sounds very good. What about backers and funding?
We've been very lucky. We have 2 angel investors who came in pre-launch, and they came in with kind of the view of knowing that this pilot was about really finessing everything, and it was about testing. And we treat this as kind of a sandbox experience. So we're kind of, one thing doesn't work, we turn it off, we try something else, all that kind of thing. They're totally behind that. They are really into it for the bigger picture in Europe as well.
Where did you find your angels?
So they're 2 high net worth individuals who we kind of had in our various circles of friends and family. One is based in Ireland, one is not. But I would say it's interesting because both are men, and I'm really interested in finding a more diverse set of investors to come into this business.
Just like this show, we want diversity.
I think it's important. I think it's a real challenge in Ireland that I didn't anticipate either. So everyone that we've talked to date has been generally a white man, which is really...
Male, pale, stale. Is that what they say?
Really? I mean, I think I knew that going into it, but I thought, no, surely I'm going to find someone. I'm going to find, the right set of investors to come into this business, because one of the goals, ambitions for us, and one of our kind of visions is we want to represent the different types of families that exist out in the world. Like it's, there are separated parents who kids have 2 bedrooms. And so let's find great things to go in both those rooms that are probably either matching or not, but you can get them for less than you're going to pay in a retail setting. Once that child outgrows them, we can start to help you around that side of thing. We're really, really wanting to be advocates for LGBTQ families, because I think there are challenges in Ireland in particular, but across Europe, let's show people these families who are, fabulous and doing, that they deserve to be in ads and in kind of visually represented.
The business is up and running.
Up and running.
How quickly can you scale?
So we are going to be Europe-wide by the end of the year.
End of 2021.
2021.
And do you need further funding for that?
We do. So we are actively looking for another angel investor to come into the business.
How much?
Somewhere between kind of 50 and 70,000 is what we're looking for. Now that's just to get us to the end of our pilot, to really have a playbook to then be able to say, okay, now we know when we go into the next 7 European cities, we execute that playbook. It's been tested. It's been really kind of finessed. And then we start to kind of localize once we're in there. And then after that, we go into a seed round, and we're absolutely going to look at a seed round of funding. I think now probably early 2022 will be when we'll have to do that to really just accelerate what we're doing.
And to raise funds on a seed round, how much did you think of at the moment?
I mean, it's kind of this is a guessing game at this stage, but I think we're at least $1 million, maybe 1.5. Okay. We're seeing a really quick pace of transaction happening through the site. So we think that actually we're going to see cash flow it's a really quick cash flow for us. What we want to start doing is really maximizing this kind of marketplace model. So the idea of kind of an escrow account where once money's paid into it, we're then releasing that funds minus our commission. But we also see that there are parents who they're kind of both. They're both sellers and buyers. So there's a way for us to say, okay, bank that money with us and we'll help you source the thing you need for the next stage of your child's life and help us do that. So that's a really encouraging sign for us. And it means we won't have to raise as much as I think we thought we were going into like a big European expansion. 2
final questions. One is, are you being aided by any of the LEOs or EIs or any of the agencies?
Such a good question. So marketplaces fit in a weird space for any of the state agencies, I think. They are risky, and I think in their eyes. So we have great conversations with the LEOs and the enterprise islands of the world.
Risky? How can it be risky if it's a very straightforward model. It's a business.
We think so. And also we think we're proving that out. But I think that we don't necessarily tick up all the boxes for them. That being said, we won Startup of the Year 2021 through Enterprise Nation last week.
Congratulations. I didn't know that. Well
Thank
done,
you. Yeah, it was great because I think for us, that was a bit of a shot in the arm and some credibility that we needed. That was also in partnership with EI. So we're really hoping that that's where our kind of conversations
reflect onto you.
Absolutely.
Final question. Who would you hire in a heartbeat?
I've got 2 answers to
Please
that question. First one is Anne Bowden. Who is the CEO of Starling Bank.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of hers. I think that she's kind of like, I would consider her an idol of mine. I think she's just really smart and brave, and she is not afraid of failing, which I think is really the key thing. And I would bring her in any capacity, even just to kind of come have a coffee with me once a week. I'd love that.
She might clean down the baby sick.
Happy to give her that. We've got a great steam pressure cleaner. She can use that.
And the second person you said?
Any working drag queen. And I say this because I think drag queens have maybe the best work ethic of anybody out there. They'll hustle to get whatever work they can.
If you had asked me who you were going to name, I could spend maybe 100 years, maybe 2,000 years, and I didn't think, and I don't think I would have come up with drag queens.
I just think they are.
So somebody like Panty Bliss or somebody like that.
Panty's great, but I think even, talk about people who are like Victoria's Secret, who's a drag queen here in Dublin, or Davina Divine, or, and even people who are starting out, like young drag queens. What you see in them is ambition, creativity, very hardworking, adaptability. Like those are qualities that I would want in any business. But you bring in that plus like just entertainment, I'm in. That's what I want in a business.
I have to ask, what are you hoping that your drag queens will do? As in what part, physical business or of the business will they
look? I have this vision that I want to have a drag queen kind of be in a way the face of our brand, because there's a great program out there called Drag Queen Storytime, and it's held in libraries around the world, and it's drag queens reading stories to children. At the time, it would be.
I remember that. Yeah, I did see it. Yeah,
it's fabulous, and that's a good kind of example of where I think we can start to influence how children think of themselves and the world. And why not start with a drag queen?
Well, you heard it here first. It is That Great Business Show. That is Sarah Howlett, and continued success. Do come back to us.
Absolutely.
When you fund and when you go for huge growth and everything else. And do tell us when you get your drag queen, We're going to put this out on social.
Yes.
And I will make a promise. I will get you your drag queen. Is that okay?
I will. That would be, oh my God, that would make my year. That would be great.
Team GBS, do you hear that? It is, we want a drag queen to work on Kindora, please. Paid for work?
We'll get, yes. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes.
She went Sarah.
Paid in maybe some baby gear, but we'll see.
Sarah, thanks so much for joining us on That Great Business Show. And that is it from That Great Business Show, episode 20. My thanks, as usual, to our team here at the Dublin South FM podcast studios. Our guests had stars in their eyes today, as they say, looking at today's studio engineer, Keith Stars, in the sound studio. Post-production is by Peter Rice. Lots of people sending us guest suggestions this week, including PRs, Fiona Donlan and Sharon Bannerton. And I forgot to mention last week's guest, Ciara Sheehan of Orbit Media, contacted us directly through our website, so that method is also working. A huge thank you to Binary Group, Cinderella Stella, why not her, should I say, IRE, Women on Air, i.e. WMB Magazine, Women in Technology, who this week reminded women on Twitter that we are the only gender-balanced business show probably in the world, proud to promote women entrepreneurs. And finally, if you or someone you know is looking for a business opportunity overseas and have a big and proven presence in the shaving and grooming markets, Tom Murphy, boss of De Facto, tells me that he is looking for high energy, emphasis, distributors around the world who will make his Mayo-made blend a world-renowned brand. That is it from That Great Business Show from me, Conal O'Moran. Until the next week, Slán Tamil.